the vision of the Sharda University was day one from there as a global university. And when we got the permission from the government of UP in 2009, the day one we have recruited almost 20 faculty from across the world. And our USP was that the world comes here. It was not only saying, but actually it is implemented. And I have traveled all over the world, almost, two-thirds of the world, and maybe around 200 universities across the world. But I found the diversity is very important in any academic institution, in terms of the student, in terms of the faculty, in terms of, the practices, what you do. So Sharda has very proud to say that we have accomplished and achieved. We have a student almost close to 2,000 from 95 countries, and annual intake is almost close to 800 to 1,000, and in all the courses. Similarly, we have chosen the faculty mostly who has a academic background in overseas. We have a different pay scales, someone who did a PhD and masters, from India, and someone who did, from the Ivy League universities. So the comparison also has been very, from 1x to, like 2x, it goes like this. And last few years, our research outcome has also been increased tremendously. Last year, university has published almost close to 2,000 publication, and we have almost got 20 crore government grants in terms of various research projects. We have 3 Padam Shri, and one of the professor of the eminence, and one of professor is a very prestigious position, that's a National Science Chair Professor. Dr. Asnan is an international figure in terms of science and technology, in biotechnology area. And this is not the end, but it has been keep on growing. And it became a wonderful research lab we have developed. We have spent crores of rupees. And we have allocated almost close to 8% of the budget only for research infrastructure development. We have a startup capacity, set up there, incubation center, where we do fund our students to start their own startup, and we give all the support, whatever idea they have. We set up the new laboratory, we buy the equipment for them, whatever research they want to do. Because India as a country, because the Prime Minister says that we have to be a developed nation. The development nations, it comes from the universities. If you see across the world the history of success of any nation, it is primarily driven by the university. It is not the industries. If you see the US or Canada or Europe or UK or Australia or Japan or even China also, most of the research happens only in the universities. Unfortunately, in India, most of the universities was a teaching institutions. Thanks to new education policy, we have been implementing for many years, and I have been thriving and insisting the professors to do research and innovations. But unfortunately, they were not serious about it. With the new regulation, with the NAC requirement or NIRF requirement or the Prime Minister new policy, it has been now everybody know that without doing a research, without publication, without filing the patent, their academic career cannot be survived. And in our university, if a faculty do not do a sufficient number of publication and you do not get the grant, he will not get the engagement, and you will have to find out some other institution which is not focusing on the research. In Sharda, every faculty has to do the research. Otherwise, your promotion, your increasement will be definitely become a question mark. And I think this is, and we do, our, in fact, our salary structure, very, it is not, the fixed one like a government, the 3% or 5%. It may go from 5% to 25%, even 30%. Depend upon the research grant you have obtained from the government, or from private consultants you brought, or, you have how many patents you filed, what is student feedback, how many, product you have developed, how much student you have mentored. Accordingly, the salary may vary from person to person. So that has created, the fantastic outcome. Now, every faculty is working hard that to thrive the highest level of increasement. It became a competitive now. It is not happening in the government, whether you do research, whether you don't do research. So we realize, the financial motivation also works very well in terms of, the motivating the faculty to do research, do innovations. And I personally believe that Sharda has to go miles, before, we take rest. And I don't think it has a potential place. It's a wonderful location. We are in the total, national capital region. We have a lot of government scientific institutions. We are getting people from DRDO, from ISRO, from ICMR. So all those retired scientists who has a credential of doing research, so they are mentoring. We have a lot of senior scientists who retired from government setup. They are mentoring our faculty. They are mentoring the students to hand-holding kind of things so they can do the research. And I'm sure that this will make this institution very unique and very different. And the most beautiful thing is that we have a 44% girls in the university. Normally it is not a very common thing in the universities, and we have a policy to give a special scholarship for meritorious girl students. Right now we are almost close to 50 crore scholarship we have been distributing among the meritorious students, and preferably with the girls, because I believe educating the girls, we are educating the nation, and they are really doing a good job. Similarly, our faculty, proportionately, if you see, there are also a very large amount of female employees are there, and we take care of them. We have the student across the country. We do not focus primarily only from North India. And day one, we have a vision that we will give away. We want diversity from across the country. And our student population, if you see, it may be 40% from the north side and 60% from all over India. That goes to northeast, to Kashmir, to Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka, Kerala. And our focus is more to south, because one that create more, because we have a lesser representation from south. We get around 200, 250, 300 students from South India. We want this should grow to at least close to 1,000. It is not about the admission. We have a very massive applications. We get almost close to 50,000 applications for the 4,000 seats. We wanted, because South students I found, they are very sincere. And once they come here, their personality changed totally. Because it's something like the difference between north and south is very vast. It's almost close to 2,000 kilometer distance, and because of languages, culturally they are very different, and their focus is most to education, and they're sincere in terms of research, particularly research area. So we look forward to promote at least for 20% students from South India. So this will make university much better, because what we do. And similarly, we do give a preference to at least 25% faculty should come from South India. So diversity is our focus, because we don't want to be like a homogeneous institution which just regionally known and all the faculty are regionally. So that doesn't give like a international dynamics in terms of the research and creativity. So that's all about it, Sharda. If India has to develop, the bottom line is the universities. If university do research, they file the patent, they create, they nurture the creativity in the students' mind, they promote their talent, they help them to do the hand-holding, and the same student will become now you see a lot of unicorns, a lot of startups are coming. See, earlier nobody talks about, these things. We have many unicorn company became $1 billion. So India has to be like a developed nation. You have to do the research. If you see the Chinese government strategically they send their students under government sponsorship. They stolen all their technology. They have taken the control of all the new development, and now they are well equipped in terms of the technology. Now they became the world the manufacturing hub, either in the hardware or software or IT, whatever you talk about it. So India has to grow means our every child has to be creative, has to compete globally, not locally. And this will come only once the ecosystem comes, when the culture has been developed, that every student has been fighting and racing with each other to doing some creative side. And I think every human has a creativity. No matter you come from which country or which soil and which place. And same students from India. They work wonderful in the US and Europe. There is hardly any research laboratory in anywhere in the world, in particularly in US and Europe, where the Indians are not working. All the leading universities in US, Canada, Australia, you find a lot of Indian professors. Unfortunately, we did not have an ecosystem. We do not have much funding from the government of India. And I hope that Prime Minister has understood, the government of India understood, and probably down the line, I think more fund will be available for research projects, because if you invest the money in research, it is going to pay you very heavy dividend. One patent you file, you look at any mobile, Apple mobile. What is the cost of mobile? Maybe a few thousand. It's all one lakh rupees. You see the Microsoft or, this Google or, Facebook or Twitter, all these companies. Trillions of dollars valuation. Just what? It's the research and the ecosystem of funding of such startup. Like venture capitalists been funding them, and then they became a global player. So we look forward that our student will one day will create any unicorn or maybe $1 trillion company, and that's possible because the wealth can be created only by the innovations, not by run-in-the-mill kind of setup. That doesn't, make this country richer.
Yes. Then how was the transformation in the education system past 2 decades?
See, we started in '96. Actually, I was in Chennai for 10 years. Okay, South India has a very advantage in terms of the starting the private education somewhere in '80s, in Karnataka even in '60s. Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, it started in '80s, and Andhra followed in '85 and onwards when Chenna Reddy was the chief minister. He opened a large number of medical engineering colleges. UP started in '96, so I was one of the first private engineering college in Uttar Pradesh, and from there we opened the first engineering college, and second year another engineering college, third year another engineering college. And 2003 we came here and we started this university. So we are right now around 15,000 students, and almost 100,000 students passed out from Sharda Group, and they are all over the world. All over the world. You go anywhere, you'll find alumni of Sharda Group. So that's a very proud feeling as a chairman, and our biggest happiness, comes only when our children, they perform well in their life and they take the flag high of Sharda Group.
In general, sir, how was the transformation, changes in education?
See, I told you, earlier, when it started, there was faculty-wise shortage. And even today also shortage of faculties are there. But the older you grow, the stability of the faculty, and there was shortage of faculty. So earlier everybody was talking only about the teaching, just to create undergraduates, and the IT boom has, industrial boom has made a very large number of engineering colleges come up now, in every corner. But many of them are not able to sustain, but I would say that for 27 years of my education experience, the current faculty is more sensible, and they understand. And the last few years there is a lot of change in terms of, I would say, research has become the focus of the faculty. And I think particularly for the institution who invests in thousands of crores, for them, if you are not in the top 100 or top 10 institution in the country, it became very painful. And after the new ranking policies with NRF and NAC, it became definitely going to help this country in a long way. New education policy, outcome-based education, credit-based system, migration, seamless migration from one institution to another institution are going to bring a lot of change. The change what happened in 27 years, much faster change will happen in the next few years, because the students are smart. They are very well aware of that. In '96 there was an internet speed was very slow, mobile communication was very expensive. Today everything you have on tips. You have 3G, 4G, now you got 5G from you are getting in December. So this will enhance the capacity of the learning process. The only flaw what I see, the focus of the students is not that high. Unless you give them some creative side, they will not be very interested to run in the mill kind of going in classroom and teaching and learning. They want project kind of learning. You want experiential learning is the focus now. So we are focusing more on to the experiential learning, project-based learning for the subject which when either you talk engineering and you talk about management. So asking to write more case study, more like a community connect. We have started one initiative that is we are sending our students to the villages to understand the problem, the rural area, understand the social devastation, social complications, and it's all primarily to develop the research methodology in their mind. Because if you do not know how to compile the data and how to take the abstract of the data, you can't be a successful person either as an entrepreneur or as a professional. You have to understand the ground reality of every industries you are working. So this is where the research comes. If you do not see the pain of people, if you do not understand the consumer behavior, I don't think that you can become a good designer, a good strategist, or a good like a decision maker. So we look forward that our students should not become only the bottom line worker. They should be on the top side. They should have a focus on more on strategy, more on and management position. A project-based learning, we give a lot of promotions to the student. Insist them that you have to do the project work, and in fact we are insisting to do the publication. In the final year, even every student has to write their thesis, and our PhD norms are very strict. So you have to have one international publication. Scopus is became this journals. So a lot of things are doing particularly one thing which I have very close to my heart is a community connect. We insist our student to go to the village to study the 360 human appraisal and the market study. A person who is earning 5,000 rupees, how do you manage and 5,000 rupees his family? How do you manage his health? How do you manage his children's education? How the government schemes are benefiting the people. A earning person is earning maybe $1 million. What is his success story? How much time he has devoted? What is his specialty he has? So these are the things which basically motivate the student to understand the human behavior, relationship, the intelligence here. So this will help them to grow and take the right kind of decision. Because human decision making is garbage in, garbage out. So the more questions you have in society, the more answer you have. The more answer you have, the better successful you are. It's simple. US was spending $183 billion in research. We are spending $8 billion. So the money is available in America or Europe or all those developed nations. It is enormous. You name it, you have all kind of research infrastructure. The companies work with the close hands with the industries. All the people go to the academia, to industries to academia, and they file the patent. I told you, this is all because industries is funding. In India, industries do not have a sufficient budget for the research purpose. If the government put a SAS for one person and then all the the turnover what the industry does it and give it to the research projects, I think a lot of funds can be available. Research is a very expensive affair. You have to keep pouring money, but one molecule, one patent can be $1 billion. I talk about, when I was talking to somebody, there was a biotech company. So one molecule, it became a multi-billion dollar company. So, but they keep on investing money over the year and year and year. And if you keep on investing money, then someday you'll be able to do some breakthrough and some molecules, or maybe pharma sector or biotech sector or agriculture sector, or maybe electronics or computer science or even space technology. So this has to keep going. Some money government has to spend, but I would say that out of GDP, some portion of money should be allocated for the research. And particularly, the private institution getting the research grant from government, it is not very high from the private side because they are mostly preferring to the government side. So there is not sufficient money. And institution cannot create own self funds because otherwise education will be very expensive for the students. And private industries is not pouring much money into the research. If the industries spend money in the research, they tie up with the universities, they tie up with the professors, they take them to the to their into the company, show their problem. I think that's the way ahead. That's the only thing I would say. Industry, academia, collaborations, and the research funding from academia, from industries, from government, if come together, then only we can make this country as a developed country. Otherwise, we will keep on shifting our goals from 5 year to 10 year to 20 year. It will never happen. Research is the only way where this country can be, because we need millions of entrepreneurs. We need to train our millions of people to skill development. We need to do a lot of research to compete with the global competition. We have a very young, talented children, very dynamic and very passionate. But unfortunately, we are not able to nurture them to be the asset. Every child has a creativity. It is only how the society and how the ecosystem nurture them. In America, a normal person can become a good researcher because his focus is very clear. And one thing which I felt which is causing damage to this education is about plagiarism. One assignment was given to the student, and that either parent helped them to complete the assignment, or the teach, or he copy from other student. I would say this is a big crime. If every child learn their own way, uses own intellectual, and parents should help them, but he should write his own script. He should write, "Yes, this is mine." There is no ownership. I've seen the student in engineering, you give one project with 5 students, one will do, 4 will copy, and then says project is done. That's not fair. In US, that's a very, very, that's a good beauty I see. Every child do their own, and he says, "It's my work." He feels proud. That is, I have done it. Whatever good or bad don't matter. But that pride comes, that is my work, and nobody can copy. That intellectual capital, the copyrights of his knowledge and idea, if we recognize in school level, I think we need to change culturally actually. My suggestion to government knows everything because everybody knows about it, but I would say we need to create more allocation of funds for the research, innovations, and the industries, even government funding may not sufficient. Industry has to come together. We need to have some regulation where industries has to come to adopt some universities to give their problems to them, allocate some funds. The industries research people and the university research people has to work together, give them some hand-holding to the universities, because right now we are infancy stage, we are babies. So if we get, like maybe some companies in Japanese collaboration, German collaboration, they're doing some research, they're doing product technology transfer comes, that if it is rooted from the, university system, then, the PhD scholars which has been working on those areas, so they are the one who will take to the next level.